Hello, everyone. I'm Jamil. I'm sorry that you can't see much. My room is very compact, very small. There's not much space for me to stand as we should. My window is the only place where I can get lighting where I live, so I'm sorry. And don't mind my voice. I'm a bit sick, I'm a bit congested. I got a bit of dreariness going on here, but that's enough of that. Let's get straight into what I came here for, which is to share my story with you. I came to tell you about how I overcame an abusive environment and how I'm overcoming my traumas and achieving my goals today. I know a lot of people can relate because everybody has a silent battle they're fighting. So I just want you to know, I'm thriving. I'm doing great. I came from hell and I'm thriving. So I know there's someone out there that can take this story in stride and use it as an example. You know what? She overcame her problems. Let me try and think positive and try and take a different approach to life. Maybe I can do that for someone. So let me begin by going back to my younger years. So most people, when they think of their grandmother, you think loving, you think caring, you think sweet. Wrong. My grandmother was my abuser. I loathe that woman, but I'm trying to forgive her for my personal growth. I grew up without my mother or my father in the picture. My father spent a majority of his life in prison, and my mom, she was never really in the picture. I can't really explain why. It wasn't like let's not even get into it. She wasn't there. And my grandmother raised me and 5 other siblings. Imagine the suffering. Jeez. Over the years I spent with my grandma, she would physically, mentally, and verbally abuse me. I still have scars to this day. I mean, she'd use cords, belts, belt buckles, anything, you name it, she used it. Let's not even get too much into detail with that. The abuse was dealing... Blooper! Okay, we're gonna carry on though. The abuse, it's a practice, I'd say. So, this is okay. The abuse I was dealing with would carry over into school. I had teachers and administrators that would notice my scars and stuff, and they tried to seek help from me. They try to call protective services and they try to get me to speak out, but I was too afraid. I was so afraid of my grandma that I just endured the abuse because I'm okay, you guys don't have to live with her. I do. So when I go home, my ass is grass. I don't know if I can say that in this video, but I did. I'm sorry, professor, if that's wrong. Forgive me. The final video will be much better. My grandma used to torture me with cruel and unusual punishment. I would like to say if I did something she didn't like per se, she'd literally starve me for days. She'd be like, you can't eat. Or when she got angry at me, she'd do things like literally cut my hair out. And there are times where she would make me stay up literally all night cleaning. And I don't mean this in an exaggerative way. Most people would be like, oh my gosh, I had to do this all night. And it's you're just exaggerating. But for me, it wasn't like this. I mean, I literally had to clean everything. And if I didn't do it right, then she would make me do it again. So it came to a point where some of my family even secretly started calling me Cinderella behind her back, and they'd always tell me that my prince and my glass slippers coming. Boy, were they right. Okay, moving on. So birthdays were always terrible for me, always. I'm 21. I just now had a decent birthday. My grandma, there was one birthday that I will particularly never forget. It was my 16th birthday. I was eating a piece of French toast, and she stuck a candle in the partially eaten French toast, and she wished me a happy birthday. I got nothing else that day. That was all. So, yeah. The cleaning my grandma was making me do played a huge part in my school performance, because after so long of not getting sleep, it started taking a toll on my body. So I would get home from school around 4:30. She would make me clean until literally 5:30 a.m. And then she'd tell me to stop and then get ready for school. So I'd go to school having not slept at all the night before. And then I'd go straight to school and go straight to sleep, which I would still get beaten for. What can I say though? I was exhausted. Anywho, the older I got, the worse it got for me. I just got to the point where I wanted out. I had an aunt, she had diabetes, she was deaf, mute, she couldn't walk. She had pills though, like she had medicines for her diabetes and stuff. And I ended up taking some of her medicines, attempting to commit suicide. That didn't work for me. I failed. My grandma ended up finding out about this later on, and she was just like, oh, well, what a grandma, guys, you know? So looking back at it though, I'm glad I did fail. Mentally, I am much stronger today. All my life though, I've been bounced back and forth between like foster homes and my grandmother. So it's like I've never had a chance to settle ever. So there's that. And it's just like at some point, the older I got, my grandma, she kicked me out. Like she put me back into the foster system, because the older you get, the less you're worth in the foster system. I guess that's how it works. You do get paid for taking care of foster children. So my grandma was kind of like a foster parent to me in a sense. She was being compensated for taking care of me, even though I was her grandchild. But the older I got, the less money I was worth. So after that, she just decided, okay, you're going back into the foster system. Honestly, I feel like that's the best decision she could have ever made for me. I was ecstatic. You know, most people being uprooted from their home in such a manner, they're usually torn, like they're usually so sad. I was ecstatic. I'm like, yes, finally. Once I moved in with my foster mom, things started to take such a positive turn for me. I had an individual in my life that wasn't abusive. She didn't try and tear me down. She encouraged me. She pushed me to be better, whether it was in school, work, whatever I put my mind to, any aspect of my life. She was supportive. She was the parental figure that I needed. My grades had made a full turn. I was pulling weight. I was taking double classes. I was taking more classes than I should have been taking during my junior year, because I was very, very much so behind. I almost didn't graduate. If it hadn't been for me taking online classes like Edgenuity, I wouldn't have graduated, but I did it. And I said that to say I am the first in my family to graduate. I am the first in my family to go to college, and I will be the first in my family to receive a degree. For anybody out there, if you have been in an abusive situation, don't let that determine or validate who you are today, because you can overcome these things. You are not your traumas. You can do great things. You're a warrior and a conqueror. In conclusion, the trauma I've endured and the abusive environment I survived that would have drove most people's crackers, it built me into the woman I am today. I'm a warrior, and so are you. And if you suffer something similar to me, and you're sitting in front of me today, I commend you, because you are just as strong. Thank you.